Hey, good afternoon, everybody. This is John from Volkswagen Planet, and today we're actually going to bring you some great news. Well, at least great in my book. What we're looking at is the 1993 Chevy Suburban, or GMC Suburban. We bought this brand new in 1993. It's been in the family ever since. Just turned 200,000, but that's not important right now. If you guys have followed the channel, you know I was putting a transmission in this, and because of my sister's baby daddy, who's a mechanic, which I seriously question that at times, but he said it needed a transmission. So I didn't question it. I said, okay. I just put on a back burner because nobody needed a vehicle at the time. So I decided that I was going to tackle this, maybe not in the most ideal at times, but I happened to find a rebuilt transmission that was never installed in a vehicle, just like my last one when I went out in Denver, Colorado in about this time in the year 2000. I'm going to show you the transmission that came out of it. So as you can tell, it is a crate transmission, and that's exactly what went back in this thing. It's a 4L60E, but that wasn't why I'm making this video. I'm making this video because it had the exact same problem as before, and what that was is when you turn the car on, that was no problem, but as soon as you put it into gear, it would feel like it's like loading up, as if you're trying to like do a burnout excuse me, with the rear tires. Well, this has a slip differential, so that means only the right rear would spin. Now, I thought that the rear brakes may have been locked up, so I pulled the rims and tires off the rear. This one just almost fell apart because it's so far out of whack, out of adjustment. So I figured it was the brakes, or the shoes being locked up the rear end. So same with this one. This one was actually, this drum was seized up. I won't say seized up, but it was actually locked up. So I had to put some PB blaster into it and give it a good smack or two with a hammer. But to make a long story short, couldn't figure it out what the problem was. Kept battling it, and just got frustrated, as you guys have seen in my previous videos. So I actually got a couple hours sleep last night, and I decided to try to tackle this thing. And so I got up this morning and figured, what could possibly be wrong with this thing? What am I missing? So I sat and looked at it, and it came to me that check the ATF fluid. Now, you would think that someone who's been a technician for over 20 years, that this would already be, pretty self-explanatory, but I guess it wasn't self-explanatory, because in the long run, that's what the problem was. So to go back to what I was originally saying, I climbed under the vehicle, or I put a quart transmission fluid in it, and still got nothing on the dipstick, on the stick. I figured that was kind of odd, because I was getting some reading or some kind of pressure, and I knew this transmission was good. So I decided to climb under the vehicle, and come to find out that the transmission, I guess you would call it the filler tube or the filler neck, was not all the way seated in the transmission, into the housing or the case or whatever. So I put that down, or I got it to come and actually seat properly into the transmission, and I checked fired the truck up, let it run a little bit, let it get hot, and I decided to check the fluid again. It was just on the very, very bottom of the stick. So that means it was down another quart. But again, it should have dawned on me, because I think the torque converter alone takes 3 or 4 quarts of ATF. But again, like I said, didn't know. I got tired of waiting for him, tired of excuses. So I guess the story is, if you want something done right, you just got to do it yourself. And thanks to a lot of YouTube videos and you guys standing behind me, giving me the words of encouragement, I actually got this completed. So like I said, I got the filler neck all the way installed properly, and I put another quart of ATF fluid into it, fired it up, dropped it into gear, and it was driving on its own power like it was 1993 all over again. So on the side of my house, I've got a empty lot that's 60 by 100. So I was driving around, putting it into gear, driving up a little bit, just doing some little tiny driving, making sure all the brakes work properly. Dropped it in reverse, backed it up, make sure, if it was going to break down, that I didn't need a wrecker. So I'm driving it, going back and forth, and I knew it was kind of, sluggish a little bit. So I knew that, my time was short. So what happens? You guessed it, I ran out of gas. But I'm glad I ran out of gas here, not on the road to the gas station. So where we sit now is, one, we know for sure that the Suburban does run on its own power, which is a major plus. Two, we know that this thing will move and all the linkage and the brakes are correct and it's not a rear end problem. And I guess three, we know that there's nothing wrong with the engine. So I do need to put the flywheel cover back on, but that's really no big deal. But like I said, if you want something done right on situations like this, you really want to believe in people that, who are actually technicians who work, for independent shops, who, the individual who put this transmission in, or I should say helped me put this transmission in, he's 40 years old, and he's been doing this, I know personally, since the last 10 years, since he was with my sister. So you would think, and you think you could trust an individual like this, but I don't know if he did it on spite this time, or maybe he just didn't know what the hell he was doing. So this is where we stand. I want to say thank you guys again, because this was a much needed win in my corner. I needed this one. May not seem like much, may not be a Volkswagen, but I do have plans to maybe, you never know, this could be the next toy hauler or the next tow rig that goes and picks that next VW up, from, 50 miles away, 100 miles away, 200 or 300 miles away. I'm not afraid to drive this. Like I said, the family's put 220,000 miles on this thing, and this thing will clean up. As you can tell, all this I thought was, rust. It still needs to be painted, but this cleaning right here was simply just a simple green and some water. So I'm going to clean this up. So I'm going to end this video with a win, some positive information for once in a great while. I needed it. Thank you again for your comments, your positive reinforcement, and just the push to keep me going. So like, comment, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. I had to stay focused on this. I knew I was close, and if I would have given up on this one, I probably would have given up on other cars totally. So it was a personal goal of mine to stay focused on this and just to get it done. I'm there now because of you guys. Again, I want to say thanks. And let's end this right now with God bless you. God bless your family. God bless our great nation, the United States of America. And we'll catch you on the next video, guys. Thanks again. And hopefully we'll get going on the Volkswagen next.